Let's talk about Project 2025. This is the conservative policy blueprint. You disavowed it during the campaign. You called it a product of the radical right.
Yeah.
You've said some of their ideas were abysmal.
I said some of it is. Some of it is very...
I love how it gets elected. I never said... Of course we're going to do Project 2025. Yeah, I mean, duh.
Very good. Some of it's very mainstream, actually. Frankly, the Democrats should have used some of it because they went, you know, with all the transgender that they were doing and with the men playing in women's sports. Well, if they wouldn't have done that, maybe they would have done better.
Well,
Trump's right. He's completely right. This was a huge wedge issue with a lot of people because it was a direct insult to people's intelligence.
So you take me to my question.
With a lot.
They would have done better.
Well,
with the men playing in women's sports, if they wouldn't have done that, maybe they would have done better.
Well,
Trump's right. He's completely right.
Why? Like, notice that how selective it is for the shit that he gives a fuck about, like the deportation of the revoking birthright citizenship, like all the wacky, goofy things he said before. Like these are just like kind of he's like not even listening. And then it's like trans people. Oh yeah. He's absolutely correct. This is a huge issue. Thanks, Nate, for giving 11 subs.
This was a huge wedge issue with a lot of people because it was a direct insult to people's intelligence.
So you take me to my question. You're now giving people involved in Project 2025 prominent roles in your administration. Are you changing your mind about Project 2025? Is this now the policy blueprint for the second Trump administration?
Some people, if you take a look at the group, it was hundreds of people were involved. And I was actually, I reprimanded the whole group. I said, you shouldn't have placed this document in front of the voters because I have nothing to do with it and I'm the one that's running. You had no right to do this where you put a 1,000-page document in front, and many of those things I disagree with. Now, many of those things I happen to agree with. Many of those things Democrats...
After he said he hasn't read or doesn't know anything. Okay.
Should have agreed to. And I think they would have done much better in the election because they got slaughtered.
Well, I guess people see the list. Russ Vought, Brendan Carr, Peter Navarro, John Ratcliffe, Pete Hoekstra, Monica Crowley.
The inventor has some intentions. Yeah, it's pretty obvious, you know, that she's not a fan of Trump. Yeah.
This is why you should feel bad if you're in the mainstream media. You should also feel bad because you're doing all this work just to try to get them to respect you, and they won't. These people are authoritarians. These people are fashy fucks. They're not going to respect you ever, right? Asmongold doesn't give a fuck that this is one of the most this isn't even softball. This is T-ball. This is one of the most T-ball interviews I've ever seen in my fucking life. And dipshits like this chud fuck are still saying things like, oh yeah, well, you know, it's obvious that she fucking hates Trump. Like, oh, she's trying to set him up so much she's trying to trigger him with the picture. Like, why are you even trying? Why not just like do a real interview? You're never, ever, ever getting people like this to say that you're doing a good job. You're never going to do it. So why not just...
They think these are all of the people who were involved in or writing Project 2025. This must be a blueprint for work requirements, eliminating the Head Start program, criminalizing pornography. Is that what we can expect to see?
Well, I don't know how they voted. I don't know. I never spoke to them actually about it. And I purposely, and I told you, normally it would be just the opposite. I'd review every page. I purposely didn't even want to see it. Because when somebody like you asks me a question about Project 2025, I can honestly say I've never seen it. I have nothing to do with it. I didn't read it, but I
believe that. I don't think he read it.
Well, then what do you feel about him saying there are things that he agrees with about it and things that he doesn't like?
I don't think he did. Does anybody actually think he read it? Of course not.
I did hear some things in there that I would totally disagree with. Yeah. And I said to the people that were really the people behind it, you know who those people are.
So how can he disagree with some of the things in it? Is he just admitting to making shit up, or that other people are filling him in on it, or?
I said, you really had no right doing this to me because they used it as a soundbite, the Democrats. And I don't know, it couldn't have been too effective because they got slaughtered. But they did use it as a soundbite.
But to people who see, oh, he's bringing in all of these people from Project 2025, he must know what it is.
Well, you know, what? I don't know what it is, no. I don't know what it is.
Why the fuck would I read it? Here's the reason why. Is like, I'm sure there's something, if it's a 1,000-page document, there's probably something in Project 2025 that I agree with. But, like, it doesn't mean I agree with everything. It's like, you can't...
Then, like, wouldn't the point of a good interview or an honest man be to say, these are the things that I agree with, these are the things that I disagree with, instead of just speaking in these vague, bullshit-ass generalities that leave us no more informed at the end of the interview than we were at the very beginning? Like, wouldn't that be the next stage of the conversation?
You can't look at an idea and be like, okay, well, you have a shopping basket full of ideas. You have to take the entire basket and take everything at the same time. No. There are ideas that exist independently, and if this is a good idea, then do it. If it's not, then don't. It's very simple.
You still don't know
But
what
I
it is?
heard
All these
certain
people
things
are
that I
coming
didn't
in from
like.
your-
And by the way,
No.
I heard certain things that are phenomenal. Okay?
Like what?
Well,
Like law and order. We want law and order.
Okay.
Okay? Little things like, let's put prisoners in jail. Let's not let people come out and raid every drugstore in Manhattan so that we have to put glass up and every store is going out of business.
I think a lot of people agree with that. I mean, I know I do. I think that the majority of people agree with that. Is that not already the law? No, it's not. Well, I mean, so basically they did this for a while. I don't know if they still are doing it, where basically they said that if you stole something of less of, I think it was $1,000, they weren't going to like go after you. So like that's what it was. Enforce the law? Yeah, right. And this is why like a lot of the stores now, I mean, I swear to God, I mean, the jewelry stores have less security than a fucking CVS in some of these photos I see. I'll be right back.
And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half.
Don't you think the leader should know the ideology and plans of those that they lead? His excuse
Oh, whoa, what is that, a real chat question?
is that you never read it for months. It's just ignorance by admission at this point. No, I don't think that all of those ideas have to exist inside of each other. Yeah, I don't think you need to read, like, people have like a very strong adherence to like an all or nothing perspective, where it's like you either have to agree with all of these things or none of them, or you have to agree with another group of all of these things or none of them. The fact is that there are a lot of ideas that people have that are good independently of other ideas that are also bad.
Now, I want you to listen closely. Let's play a game.
Have like a think that all of no this is the don't you think the elite
We're going to play a game. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to listen closely to what Asmongold says. That's all you have to do. Close your eyes and listen closely to what Asmongold says. That's all you have to do.
Deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half.
don't you think the leader should know the ideology and plans of those that they lead? His excuse is that you never read it for months. It's just ignorance by admission at this point. No, I don't think that all of those ideas have to exist inside of each other. Yeah, I don't think you need to read, like, people have like a very strong adherence to like an all or nothing perspective, where it's like you either have to agree with all of these things or none of them, or you have to agree with another group of all of these things or none of them. The fact is that there are a lot of ideas that people have that are good independently of other ideas that are also bad.
Can you summarize what the fuck he just said? What the fuck did he just say? Destiny, why are people so hung up on whether Trump literally read the document itself? The authors are it's not. They're not. Hold on. Rugarg. Sorry. Hold on. Listen. Welcome. Come to the audience. Come sit in the audience, okay? For maybe the rest of my life. Now, my only goal is to just point out that this is theater, okay? Nobody actually believes this. You're watching a performance right now from Asmongold, okay? There are certain, like, in the philosophy of language, I think, right? There are maxims for conversations. Fuck, I wish I could. There were 4 of these. These were so good. And every single person. Oh, it's the cooperative principle. Somebody emailed me about this. I read this. This is good. Intuitively, I'm going to read you something, but intuitively, you all know this, okay? Our talk exchanges do not normally consist of a succession of disconnected remarks and would not be rational if they did. They are characteristically, to some degree at least, cooperative efforts, and each participant recognizes in them, to some extent, a common purpose or set of purposes, or at least a mutually accepted direction. This purpose or direction may be fixed from the start, for example, by an initial proposal of a question for discussion, or it may evolve during the exchange. It may be fairly definite, or it may be so indefinite as to leave very considerable latitude to the participants, as in a casual conversation. But at each stage, some possible conversational moves would be excluded as conversationally unsuitable. We might then formulate a rough general principle which participants will be expected, ceteris paribus, to observe, namely, make your conversational contribution such as is required at the stage at which it occurs by the accepted purpose or direction of the talk exchange in which you are engaged. One might label this the cooperative principle. On the assumption that some such general principle as this is acceptable, one may perhaps distinguish 4 categories under one or another of which will fall certain more specific maxims and sub-maxims, the following of which will, in general, yield results in accordance with the cooperative principle. Echoing Kant, I call these categories quantity, quality, relation, and manner. Basically, this just goes through, these are all things that you know these things like intuitively. Like, you don't really need these explained, but this is more like a descriptive thing, like trying to describe, like, how do humans contribute to conversations in ways that work, right? So for instance, right, like if I were to ask you, what'd you do today? Just by saying that, there's a whole bunch of shit that is, like, it's assumed what that answer is going to be, right? If you go, what did you do today? And somebody says, at 8 a.m., I ceased snoring and I rolled over and I opened my phone and I turned off my alarm clock. At 8:01 a.m., I put my left foot and then my right foot out of the bed. I sat up and then I walked into the bathroom. At 8:02 a.m., I washed my face a little bit. Like this is not, what the fuck, right? Now they're answering the question correctly, like syntactically correctly, right? If we were computers, well, they're not doing anything wrong, but like, cooperatively, this is not what is being asked, right? It's not really what we're asking when we say this, you know? Now, one of the common things that Trumples will do, and a lot of people do this if they're being bad faith, is when you start to collapse some of these maxims for manipulation or disinformation purposes to try to pretend that you're not actually doing anything or saying anything incorrect, right? So when somebody says, hold on, did you read Project 2025? Everybody, but the thing is, everybody knows this. Everybody knows, including Asmongold, because remember, this is a performance, this is a play. Everybody knows, nobody's asking, did you sit down and go through the 900 plus pages and actually read word for word everything in Project 2020? What they're asking is are you familiar with the rough ideas in it? And are you aware that people around you are trying to get these ideas passed in government? And then are you yourself trying to get these ideas passed? That's what everybody knows is to be true. So when Trump breaks some of these cooperative principles, says, I haven't read it exactly, he's acting in bad faith. And you know this because later on he acts in good faith, or when he's saying like, well, you know, there's some good ideas and there's some bad ideas. And you're not like, well, hold on, wait, I thought you didn't read it. Well, nobody's really asking if you read it cover to cover. Nobody's asking that. That's not really what's being, and everybody knows it. So this by Asmongold and by Donald Trump and by The Reporter, this is all a performance, right? Everybody knows that this is like bullshit right now. This is all a performance.
The fact is that there are a lot of ideas that people have that are good independently of other ideas that are also bad.
And destroyed. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I think those people committed a major crime.
Sir?
And Cheney was behind it. And so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee.
So to break this, you have to ask autistically specific questions. I don't think you can break this. Like, language relies on some level of cooperation. And remember, norms and all of these things only work when both sides are respectful. If one side is going to break the norms, there's no way that you break through it, because there's an infinite way. You've seen this with manipulative or abusive people on my stream, right? There's no way to actually break through, because what are you going to say? Well, hold on, wait, what do you mean? You're like, oh, I didn't say anything wrong, right? I didn't technically lie. And then people like Asmongold will agree, yeah, he's not lying. I agree. He probably didn't actually read the thing, right? And then if you want to support that point, there's a meta idea here about like, well, I need to support Donald Trump at all costs, right? So then you'll bob and weave and break and adhere to these particular maxims and sub-maxims so long as they further that point of supporting Donald Trump. You can't win that argument, because language at the end of the day is cooperative.